Our backend is scaling, but the question is, why are our users still complaining? So far, we have added load balancers, stateless servers, Redis cache, and even an API gateway. But the users are still complaining about a lag. The reason is distance matters. Every request still travels around the world, hits our API gateway, hits the backend, and then responds back to the user. Even if our servers are fast, the issue is they're all in one region. To showcase a real example, I've added a new endpoint to our analytics called the daily summary. And what this is doing is basically returning a small report. So I've added a catch. I've purposely added this 1.2 seconds delay in there so that we mimic real business logic latency. Now when I run a load test on this, I'm not only picking users from the US region, but I've also added users from the Europe region. After this test, we can see that the average time for the users in Europe took longer compared to the users in the US region. The reason is the users that are in Europe are making the call that are hitting our API gateway that's in the US, which is hitting our backend, which is also in the US. And that result then travels back all the way to the users in Europe. This is where CDN comes into play. Content delivery networks. They are responsible for caching responses at the edge, which is closer to the user's region. Redis cache that we had was responsible for caching data inside our backend, which reduced the load onto our databases. Whereas CDNs, on the other hand, reduce latency and the backend traffic. Now let's spin up an Azure Front Door instance, which is a CDN on Azure, and let's see how our load test performs with a CDN on. Now we can see a drastic improvement in latency. We can see both the users in the US and Europe have their latency reduced to milliseconds. We can also see that the first request that came in, since the CDN did not have the data, it caused a cache miss. And once it has the data, now all the requests were served from the CDN instead of the request hitting our backend. And the way we can prove that is by basically looking at the latencies. We had a 1.2 second delay within our code. The fact that it's taking less than 1.2 seconds means that it never reached the backend service. It retrieved the data directly from our CDN. And because of this,